To me, what makes horses so special, their personality, their appearance, therapy. There's nothing as good as getting up in the morning to go down to feed a horse and to ride a horse out. Basically, mostly, every horse has different personality. Every horse that came here to be broken, every one of them was so different, and so beautiful to have around you. I live and breathe them. You know, I don't know what I would do without them. Really, they really belong to my heart. You know.
Horses are my life. They always have been from I was a child, and my father before me. You know, I can shoe horses, I can clip horses, I can break horses. It's always been what I've worked at, you know, and I love them.
Both Daddy's parents came from equine backgrounds, so it was inevitable that he would carry on their tradition. My granny, Daddy's mummy was Lucy Hannafin, came from a big family. They were all horsey people, the Hannafins. And the Dohertys were horsey people.
The Dohertys were born and reared in Irvinstown, and up the street then, up the hill, head on the Kish Road, that's where Kiwi the Hop lived. He was a good horseman too, you know. He was all over the country too, buying and selling horses, you know. Him and my father used to go about together, you know. And they got into a lot of fights together as well. Patsy growing up, he was out through the country with his father and that, buying horses and buying donkeys, you know, and selling clothes and that, like, you know. That time there were no cars. All they had is horse and traps, horse and flats. They went from fair to fair, with horses tied onto the back of their flats. Anyway to get by that. Times were different them times, you know. Yeah, you had to work, you know, to get what you wanted, you know. So that's what he learned from his father, Huey the Hop, you know. That's what Patsy learned, he straight from, you know, down through the years.
Daddy used to tell me when he was growing up, times were tough, things were hard. And he used to tell me about going to school but having no shoes. And then he says if it was a really bad winter, they'd get a new pair of boots, which was worse, he says, because they used to cut the feet of them. And he used to go down to the train station, men would be loading on and off horses, and he used to go down and give them a hand. And he says if you were lucky, some man might give you like a shillings.
Everything come natural to Patsy as a horseman. You know, he didn't have to think about anything. You could say he was gifted, you know, at the horse job. He taught me a lot about horses, you know, he taught me probably everything I know about a horse, but he probably didn't teach me everything that he knew.
Patsy Doherty would have been a very unique horseman. He would have knew what he was looking for. He would have knew. He just was one of them men that would have had, as I say, a good eye. I would have noticed Patsy at sales since I was a child, and you just knew he was one of them. You learn from people like Patsy. You just kind of learn. You know what. You're standing there as a child. You know what. Listening to them and knowing what they want, you kind of pick up on it.
Jim Donnelly, like my father, has been generations of blacksmiths. And I mind my grandfather used to tell me that Patsy Doherty was a great man to hold a rough horse at the head. He always would have kept him safe. And you know, that's the things that makes great horsemen. One horseman acknowledging another one. He would have got all his horses shod, you know, with my grandfather in the forge in Finton, and in later years we got horses broke with Patsy. It's very hard to get them today. There's nobody about like him in that perspective anymore.
He knew his trade. He knew what to buy and what he wanted to buy, you know. He knew a good riding horse. He knew a good trotting horse. He was a very, very generous with the horses too. He looked after the horse well, like, you know. He was a gentleman. That's what he was. And everybody knew him. And he could go anywhere, like, you know.
Daddy broke horses all his life. He liked a challenge. He just didn't go for the quiet ones. And he would take on horses maybe that some other men wouldn't want to take on.
What I would observe from and learned from men like Patsy Doherty would be basically to manners was another essential tool in your deals, and to be very vigilant. There is them con men out there. I remember in one instance, Patsy was buying out a pony, and this pony was a 14-2 pony, and lovely, lovely grey pony, and the boy was selling the pony at handy money, and Patsy was trotted up and down, put somebody on his back, off and on, no problem. And before he was about to strike the deal, I'll never forget it to the day of day, he walks down to the back of the pony and carefully lifts the tail, and the pony was riddled with cancer down inside the two back, just down below the backside. And Patsy was cute enough to go. And your man didn't deny it. Patsy says, that pony's riddled with cancer. And the deal was struck off, and then I don't know if the pony was ever sold or not. So one of the things I would have learned from men like that was to be vigilant and never be taken in, and to have your manners and know what you're looking for.
Daddy had great faith. He used to go to Mass every day, and we used to kneel down and say the rosary every night. But I think it was his faith that carried him through when Patrick died, that kept him going. There was a pony drive, and they postponed it for 2 weeks, and then Daddy said he wasn't going to go to it, and he wasn't going to shoe anymore or do anything. And Mummy said to him, that's not what Patrick would have wanted. So we went to the drive and he drove, and that was it from then on, and he just kept going as usual. Tullagarn was where Daddy kept his horses. It was like home from home. He spent all his hours up there. He would have lived up there if he could have.
We just loved going up there to Tullagarn in the evenings. We had a great upbringing with Patsy. We could do something the millionaires probably couldn't have done at the time. We had our own horses to ride every day of the week, and like it was a hobby and a job at the same time.
The pony drives was a great day away for Patsy and my family and friends, you know. Everybody got together and met, and maybe a deal or something done on a Sunday, a pony bought or sold, and there would usually always have been a race on the way in from the pony drives, and it was a bit of excitement for me as a child remembering all that.
Patsy knew stuff about sulking, you know. Patsy kept a good lot of trotting horses about him, but he liked jumping horses too, like, you know.
It's a big sport, you know. It's as big as thoroughbred racing now in this country, I see, and they've actually got very dear standard bred horses. The first thing about it is finding the right one, I suppose, and whenever you getting them right and keeping them right, and it's a great buzz, so it is. Getting them ones, especially whenever you're an underdog going into a race, it's a big achievement to win. But you know, the good thing about standard bred racing too is, like any show jumping or thoroughbred racing, every horse and rider has their day. The one that won this week could be beat next week, and you know, that's what makes it so exciting and enjoyable.
Daddy loved going to the horse and pony drives. He was very competitive and loved the wee race home. He loved the whole social side of it, out meeting people.
He'd have a few beers after it, and the crack would be good in the pub after it, you know.
Great, fantastic characters that you could write books about, compared to, not saying nothing bad about today, but that was maybe in that generation or my generation, it was like a big family.
It's a different type of a horseman nowadays than there was then. You know, I'm not saying they're any worse or any better, I don't know, but back then they seemed to have a better knowledge of the animal itself. It's not like a factory. Back then it was like a love of an animal, so to speak.
It really is. a really important factor to keep the horse culture going in Ireland, to keep the knowledge that we have. All the good men that you would have learned off, all the characters, they're legends. People like them were legends that I grew up learning of.
Patsy was a great horseman, and you know there's still plenty of good horsemen about nowadays. Horses is in your blood.